The Genius of Phil Mickelsons Swing, a study in the evolution of Leftys' power. Throughout Phil Mickelsons' 28 years as a pro, swing gurus, stats nerds and armchair psychologists have all taken stabs at the reasons for his brilliance. It has been a losing. What are the reasons for that longevity? And what made him great? A consensus emerged on several aspects of Phil's full swing, as well as the intangibles of his outlook, how he sees the game, as Foley puts it. They have re-energized the swing long and free, go on a spree. Dean Rienmuth recalls his first lessons with Mickelson in 1984, when Phil was just shy of his 14th birthday. I hadn't seen the career-long swing template was in place, so lengthy and loose, sometimes errant, but a gift. He won 3 ends. I didn't want to change the length of Phil's swing, either, Smith says. We worked on adding. I hadn't seen flexibility in a swing like that before. Dean Rienmuth. Mickelson won 3 of his 5 major championships on Smith's watch, but by early 2007 he was 36 and thinking more long-term. Always a natural, Phil could do a split while sitting, touching his chest to the ground, Harmon says. Just ridiculous. Phil won 12 tour events, including 2 majors, with Harmon. But Butch recalled, Mickelson's swing today is longer and looser again, his driver speed on the practice tee faster than 120 miles per hour. Says Bob Tosk, school your hands, not your body. Mickelson's touch around the greens is undeniable, but it's the contribution of his hands to his full swing that increasingly is seen as a key to his longevity. The slinging character. Smith believes all golfers can improve their full swing and their longevity just by focusing on their hand movements instead of the larger swing components. The hands, not his control of the club face at high swing speeds is incredible. Eric Smith. How did Phil develop the knack? Rienmuth recalls, but what of the instances where his hands failed him? Winged foot wasn't an. Smith points to the flipping action of Phil's left hand at the bottom hand on his grip through impact as a consequence of a swing path, an angle that demands aggressive action to square the face. It's part of his The takeaways. What to copy from Phil? For all the criticism Mickelson's swing has received over the years for being too reliant on extraordinary hand-eye coordination to be useful for the average golfer, some top instructors think there are things he does that would benefit everyday players. UG. Grip the club lightly. Phil has the sense that one could yank the club out of his hands with a firm tug. A sensitive hold, take your time. Phil's extra long backswing isn't for everyone, but the pace at which he gets to the top is a model for us all, says Bob Toski. Swing back in a don't resist. Allow the knee of your front leg to move away from the target and the heel to rise. Also let the hips swing through the ball. Only after impact do Phil's arms straighten, a sign he tears viciously through the ball. Make the club reach. We know Phil loves the game, but he also put in the hours. He paid the price. Butch Harmon. Play around your signatures. Unconventional swing traits can be strengths and a source of long-term good, provided they work in concert with other movements. Witness Jim Furyk. I especially like the slack in his lower body, Sean Foley says. There are teachers who, says Smith, in the early years, Phil allowed his right heel to rise to accommodate that huge turn. That went away for Toski loves the strength and sensitivity of Mickelson's hands, so he likens them to Byron Nelson's. As a teacher, work ethic matters. Few know how hard Phil works on his swing, but inside the flip-flop wearing, sock-al pretty boy is a Pennsylvania steel mill worker trying to get out. Harmon says, Rienmuth says that when Mickelson was a teen, and due to spend a week on the family boat on Shasta Lake, he privately stressed about missing practice time. Phil took a club shortly after Mickelson graduated from Arizona State. This writer once looked in Mickelson's bag of stray clubs. There were 2 pink, Glory is 1 swing away. Smith loves to recount the 2012 Masters, in which Mickelson opened with a 74, spraying the ball everywhere. Phil was 7 shot. Ryan Muth recalls Mickelson's first tour win, the 1991 Northern Telecom Open, while Phil was still an amateur. He was leading by. Harmon says that mistakes such as the seemingly tragic loss at Winged Foot can be career wreckers for some players. One reason Phil is, says Foley, I have no doubt Phil will win major championships in his 50s. I've observed him up.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.